Hi YouTube, this is Felicia with Bible Scraps or Journal Scraps, depending on the channel you are watching, and welcome to another video in my brother SM8270 sewing machine that I picked up from Costco. It's also available at Amazon. I will have both links below. And let me tell you, this video was fun. It was frustrating at first, but I tell you, it took me back to school. I am not a math person. I hated algebra. I don't think I took geometry. The only math I enjoyed was the math in primary school, having those multiplication, addition contests. I always got 100%. And back then, if you got 100%, you were able to go ice skating. So I went ice skating a lot. You guys recall those ice skating days? Actually, not ice skating, but roller skating days. So fun. Well, besides that, the only math I fell in love with was a class I took in graduate school. It was called World Math, right? Because in that class, we learned of a formula that gave us the odds of winning the lottery. Okay, so we learned much more than that, but that was the kind of math I figured I needed. Who needs algebra? Who needs geometry? But anyway, this video was super fun because my analytical, my technical mind was going. You guys, I was so frustrated with these functions and these keys. They were acting weird, but I finally figured out why it does what it does. I hope you guys find this video beneficial and informative. I do offer some tips on how to get to your stitch selections quicker, right? And I'm going to cover various ways you can get there. So enjoy this video. So first, I'm going to turn my machine on. And if you have not changed your default settings, this is how your default screen. My machine has 99 stitches and 35 satin stitches. The functions, the buttons we are using in this video selects any one of these stitches. To make my machine user-friendly, I used my Brother label maker, and I created number labels, the number 10 and the number 1. The number 10 lets me know that this plus button, if I depress it, it advances in increments of 10, and this plus button advances in increments of 1. So let's play around with these buttons to see what they do. By depressing this one, you see there's multiples of 10s. Because I have 99 stitches, I can go all the way up to 90. If I depress it again, it defaults back to 0. Now this button, if I depress it, it starts at 90. And if I continue to depress it, it will cycle back to 0. This button, if I depress it, increments of 1. And if I cycle through, I end up back at 0, and it will repeat cycling through 0 all the way to 9. When I depress this minus button, it starts at 9. And when it cycles through, it passes 0, and it will continue to cycle through 0 through 9. What I have found to be true about these buttons, and this is important. It took me a while to figure out the significance and the implications of what I'm going to share with you guys. Well, these buttons, they're the same. They cycle through the same numbers. The difference is they have different starting points, and that is what makes these buttons special and unique. For instance, at 0, if I depress the plus, it advances to 1. From 0, if I depress the minus, it advances to 9. From 0, if I depress this plus, it advances to 10. From 0, if I depress the minus, it advances to 90. You guys will hear me refer back to this because it's genius. I absolutely love it because I figured out how to use it and maximize it to get to the stitches I want quicker. Give you guys a secret. In my opinion, this minus button, the one on the right, it is special, and I'll demonstrate that a little later in the video. Okay, let's select stitches. I'm going to start with the smaller number stitches and work my way up. How about stitch 3? My mind tells me to get to stitch 3 by using the ones button. We're at 3. And you know, that is the quickest way to get there, but you will see what a lot of other digits using the ones, it'll take you forever to get there. Now, whenever I select a new stitch, I'm going to always start back from 0. In this video, I will share how you can easily get back to 0. I don't know if you would ever use it, but in demonstrating that, I'm going to talk about other things I've learned as well. Okay, what about stitch 6? Now, with that particular stitch, there's a couple ways you can get there. The first way would be to use the ones and advance by 1 until you get to 6. That takes depressing your button 6 times. But there's another way as well. Can you guys figure it out? Okay. Remember, from 0, if we depress this button, it takes us to 9. That's why this button, one reason why this button is special. We can actually get to 6 quicker in fewer steps. So that's 1 step, 2, 3, 4. We got to 6 in 4 steps versus the other way, it took us 6 steps. So you're beginning to see why this particular button is special. But you know what, you guys? It's more to this button as well. But in all honesty, my first thought to get to 6 was not the way I just demonstrated. It was to advance to 10 and then use this minus button 4 times, to press it 4 times to get to 6. But let's see what happens when we use the minus button. You would think it would decrease to 9, but instead it adds a 9. Okay, whenever you start with a multiple of 10s and use this minus button, it will add a 9 instead of subtracting a 1. And I found out the reason why. And that's true because remember, you guys, this particular minus button, from 0, if we depress it, it starts at 9. It will always start at 9. It's starting backwards from 9 to 0. Well, if we start with a multiple of 10s number, like 20, let's do 40, and depress this minus button, it will maintain the first digit, which is 4, but this second digit will always be a 9. No matter if you start with 50, 60, 70, 80, or 90. Let's do that. 80. If we press this minus, it will always turn the second number into a 9. The program is designed to do that. That was so confusing and frustrating to me until I realized there's a benefit in doing that. And that is good information to know, especially if you are working with numbers that have, in particular, a 9. Let's play around with stitch 9. What's the easiest way to get to 9? I demonstrated that in the video if you didn't miss it. But my first inclination, well, I had 2 inclinations. My first inclination was to advance to 10 and hit the 1, but that gave me 19. So that didn't work. The other way you can get to 9 is to depress this button 9 times, but that takes forever and it puts wear and tear, in my opinion, on your machine. Well, remember this minus button, it starts at 9, so you get to 9 quicker. Now, if you're selecting a stitch that has a 9 in it, let me show you how you can easily get to that stitch. Let's say it's stitch 39. Well, you would advance until you get to 30 and then just press the minus. Voila, you are at 39. Let's say you want to get to stitch 69. Do the same thing. I advanced using the 10s and depress the minus, and I am at 69. So if you missed me demonstrating how to get to 19, I'll do it again because it's super duper quick. It's only 2 steps. Advance to 10 and then hit the minus. We are at 19. Now, what's great about this formula, if you need to get to numbers that's close to a 9, you can get there quicker. Like, let's say if I want 57. Let's get there. Using the same formula, I'm going to advance to 50 and then hit the minus. I'm at 59 and then decrease it to 57. Now, you can also get there another way. I started off advancing forward 10 stitches, but let's devance. That takes us to 90. Now we're at 50. And then let's hit the minus 59 and decrease until we get to 57. So, you guys, this minus button, it might be frustrating, it might be confusing to use it at first, but once you get the hang of it, you'll see how it's not only a decreasing number button, but it also adds to your number 9 stitches. So our special number, our minus, which is located on the lower right hand side, it becomes a different function when you are working with multiples of 10s, like 10, 20, 30, 60, 80, and so forth. So you see 70 on the screen. If we depress the minus, it becomes 79. It has added 9 to 70. But if you work with any other number that's not a multiple of 10, when you depress the minus, it actually decreases by 1. And it will continue to decrease by 1 until we're at 81. Decrease it again. We're at 80. Decrease it again, and it goes back to 89. It will cycle through every digit in the 80s. Okay, we're moving on up. Let's say we want to select stitch 73. Now my inclination is to use this button to advance all the way to 70, but that is not the most efficient way to get there. Use your minus button to get there quicker. If you are selecting a stitch larger than the 50s, you want to use this minus button here. We got there in, I think, 3 steps or 4 steps versus advancing forward. It would have took us 7 steps to get to 70. And from here, just advance using the ones button. Okay, so now it's time for the test. Not a quiz, this is a test. I want to see how well you guys understand. So I'm testing that, but I'm also testing my ability to convey these concepts. Okay, so our last stitch selection is 99. And you guys, it's super easy and quick to get there. I want you guys to call out the 2 selections we need to make to get to 99. I'll give you a second to think about it. If you want, you can leave a comment with those selections, but it is super duper easy. Remember everything we learned, you guys. Which 2 selections do we need to make to get to 99? If you said to depress this bottom minus number, the one on the left, the one that represents the 10s, you are half correct. so far. What is the other number we need to depress? Well, remember, it's this special number here. If we depress it, 9 populates. It will always populate. Just that quick, we got to 99. And it's because these bottom numbers, well, remember all these buttons, they do the same thing. They cycle through the same numbers. They just have different starting points. When you play around with your stitches, you will become more familiar with these buttons and you will get to your stitches that much quicker. If you take nothing else from this video, do remember, once again, all these buttons, they're the same. They cycle through the same numbers, but they have different starting points. If you can remember that, you guys, I tell you, it will be a breeze selecting your stitches. And if my theory is true about the wear and tear, well, your machine will last longer because you will be depressing buttons far less. Okay, so let's just have fun. Let's play around. I'm going to turn my machine back on. And I think I covered everything, but I'm not too sure. So we have selected 45. Right? Let's say if we want to get back to 0. Now, I don't know if you would ever need to get back to 0. You can turn your machine off and then turn it back on, but I don't recommend that. But if you need to get back to 0, depending on what stitch selection you are on, that will determine which buttons, of course, you use. And that is true for any stitch selection you decide to choose. The more you play around with your machine, hopefully with this tutorial, you have a better idea of what each function hopefully you can maneuver these functions and get to where you need to be quicker and get to the fun stuff, which is watching your sewing machine in action, right? Okay, so we're at 45. To get to 0, this is what I would do. I would use my buttons on the left, and 5 is right in the middle, so I could go up or down. Let's go up. If you go up, let's see what happens if I continue to go up. You see how I got to 49, and then when I advanced forward 1, it took me down to 40. Well, that will always happen. You will always remain in the tens that you are in. You can go down. The same thing will happen. Remember, these buttons, they're pretty much the same. They cycle through the same numbers. The only difference is the starting point. So this is true for every multiples of 10 number. We can go up to 68. The same thing will happen. We will never leave the 60s. But to get to 0, now I'm in the 60s, I would advance up. And because I'm at 60, I can progress in increments of 10. And remember, after 90, it defaults back to 0. So if I was below 50, I would use the minus button. Of course, I could also use the functions on the left to get back to 0 or any lower number. And from here, I would decrease back to 0. Or I probably could have went up with the ones. So I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. I encourage you to play around with your machine. You will get the hang of it. Now, this is the 3rd video I've offered in my sewing machine series. If you are interested in my other videos, I will have those videos linked below. I'll also have a thumbnail at the end of the video that you can click on, and that will take you directly to those videos. If you have found this video beneficial, why not support this channel? Give me a thumbs up. While you're at it, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and do so because I got some fun videos coming your way. And I also have other videos I think are fun that you might find interesting. Feel free to share this video if you are interested in this machine. Do check out my links below. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. As always, blessings.